What's going on YouTube, Facebook? What's the dealio? It's your boy Staffs Aren't Silly, back with another bang banger of a video. Today's video is gonna be a more of an educational, informative type video. You're new to handguns, you wanna buy your first handgun, but you've never messed with a gun before, but you wanna purchase a firearm. Go to the gun store, you see shelves upon shelves upon shelves upon shelves of guns, and you get overwhelmed and you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know how the gun is supposed to feel. On today's video, we're gonna try to narrow it down and break it down for your individual needs and what you should be looking for. That is today's topic. Alright, so getting right into it. Before you even leave your house to go to any gun store, there's a few things you need to ask yourself before you even attempt or start scrolling and shopping for a gun. One of the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what kind of gun do you want? Do you want a handgun? Do you want a PCC, a pistol caliber carbine, an AR pistol, AR rifle, a shotgun, long range rifle? What kind of gun do you want? What kind of firearm do you want? That's the first question you gotta ask yourself. And when you ask yourself that question, you have to ask yourself another question. What am I gonna be using this firearm for? Is it just going to be for the range, to go to the range and shoot, planking, target practice, training, home defense weapon that you have on your bedside or a safe, as self-protection, concealed carry weapon? These are the things you need to ask yourself before you even step into a store. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on handguns. Let's say you made the decision, you want to buy your first handgun, you know absolutely nothing about guns, you've never shot a gun before, you never owned a gun before, you don't know what you're supposed to be looking for, you don't know what you're supposed to be expecting. You can only go by what the sales clerks tell you in the gun store. Today's video, I'm going to try to give you a little bit of insight on what you should be looking for if you're going to purchase your first firearm, or let's say you have several other firearms that you bought but you never really shoot them because they're not that comfortable. They're either too big, too bulky, too much recoil, it's uncomfortable to shoot. You knew nothing about guns when you bought those guns, and you just bought those guns basically off of looks and what the sales clerk told you, but the gun didn't really fit you. It didn't really fit your style. It didn't really go with the overall package of what you wanted the firearm for. Today, I'm going to try to break it down for you. I'm going to try to narrow it down and try to put some things in your head so the next time you go firearm shopping for a handgun, you kind of know what to look for and what you should be expecting to buy the perfect firearm for your needs. Like I said in the beginning, before you even leave the house, before you even go online shopping for guns or wherever you purchase your firearms from, you have to ask yourself a few questions. What kind of gun do I want, and what do I want this gun for? You already narrowed it down. You said you want a handgun, so now you have to ask yourself, okay, I want to purchase a handgun. What do I want the handgun for? One day, hopefully concealed carry, but for right now, you have it for your nightstand, bedside, home defense type pistol. So you're gonna get a handgun and you're gonna use it for a home defense, personal defense, concealed carry one day. So when you're looking for that type of pistol in mind, there's some things that you need to look for and you kind of have to expect in a firearm, because right now when you first buy a gun, you're not thinking about accessories. You're not thinking about, oh, I might need a flashlight for home defense or even self-defense carry. You're not thinking about, oh, I might have to mount an optic. I already did a video pertaining to accessories and things that you look for before you buy a gun. That video should be dropping pretty soon. If it's not out already, go ahead and check out that video. Things to look for when you purchase a firearm. So I'm not going to go into those details today. I'm just going to talk about the basic first impressions, things that you need to look for or what you should be looking for when you're looking to purchase a firearm for your home defense and your personal self-defense carry. Now that you narrow down the firearm choice on what you want, a handgun for home defense / self-defense personal defense weapon, you go to the gun store. You have a certain price range that you're looking at. So this is the first thing that you have to establish before you even go to the gun store. What's the price range of firearm that you're looking for? That can literally vary anywhere from $400 to $1,000. So it just depends on whatever your budget gonna allow you to spend on a firearm. That's what you should consider before you even go into the gun store. Consider, okay, what's the lowest I'm willing to pay for a firearm, and what's the highest I'm willing to pay for a firearm before you even walk into the store. Understand that the more you're willing to spend on a firearm, the more options you're gonna get choosing a firearm. If you want to have a firearm with a budget from $300 to $500, you're gonna be very limited. If this is the firearms market, and you say you're looking for a firearm, a handgun from $300 to $500, this just turned into this. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you gotta look at it. The more money you're willing to spend, the more options you're gonna have. Anything over $1,000 and you're new to guns, I don't think you're ready for that. I think it's gonna be a waste of money, because not that the gun isn't gonna be good. If you're new to firearms, you never shot a gun before, you don't need a $3,000 staccato. You don't need that yet, because maybe you do. I mean, if you specifically know what you want, and that's what you want a $2,500 staccato 2011, then go for it. But if you're a new shooter and you're not trying to be all extreme, you're not trying to be super tactical, you're not trying to be you just want a basic firearm just for your home defense, self-defense needs, I would just say try to keep it in between $400 to $1,000, and you should have a very wide variety. Alright, so now you go into the gun store, and a lot of things that people get caught up on is the size of the gun. Most people think that, okay, the smaller the gun, the better. You know what I'm saying? The smaller the gun. Like, for example, I'm going to take this out. Let me go ahead and clear this, make sure. So this was the first firearm that we purchased for my wife. It's a Ruger EC9S, chambered in 9mm. She liked it because it was super small. It felt good in her hands. When she fired and when she held it in the gun store, it felt good. It was very light, very slim. This will be perfect for concealed carry. What I tell people is don't get caught up so much on the looks and size of a gun, because the look and the size of a gun can be very deceiving when it comes time to actually shooting and firing that gun, which my wife found out because, like I said, it was super slim, it's thin, it's small, it fit her hand nice, and she liked it because it was super small. And so she loved this gun before she fired it. Fast forward to after she fired this gun, and she realized this gun has some flaws in it that she didn't think about while she was in the store. One of the flaws that I'm going to tell you right now that we had with this firearm is just the controls, like just the safety switch. That alone is super hard to it's not that bad, but it's kind of a pain to move this from safe to fire. And as you can see, it takes some effort, and it kind of hurts your finger. It puts a little dent in my finger right there. Let's go ahead and, what is it in? Put it on safe. Now look at that dent. I don't know if you can see that dent that it puts in my finger, but it takes a lot. The controls are small, and it's really a pain in the butt. And even the mag release button is not that bad on this, but it just doesn't feel that good. And then one of the biggest flaws with this pistol is the slide release. The slide release control button, it's the biggest pain in the buttocks to try to release this slide release with this button right here. It takes a lot, even for me. And I have pretty decent sized hands. I don't have humongous hands. My hands ain't that big. What? I have a hard time releasing this slide. Look at this. I'm gonna try to show you on camera. I'm gonna see. I can't even release. This is how hard this slide is to release. In order for me to release this slide, I literally have to pull back on it and then push down on it to release the slide. But if I try to just release this slide with the button with one finger, I literally can't. It's like super hard to release this. And this was one of the biggest issues that we had with this pistol, is not being able to release the slide. Because if you're in an emergency situation, you're being attacked, right? And let's say you had to reload, you shot the first magazine, you put your second magazine in there, and let's say you're under stress and you're trying to release this slide release, and you have to pull it back, and you have to pull it back, and you have to try to push this button at the same time. You have to do it a specific way in order for you to be able to pull the slide back and hit the slide button for the slide to release. So this was a big no-no for me, because if any reason, even let's say you have a full magazine in here, and let's say you shot the first round, and for some reason the slide doesn't go back automatically, and your slide is stuck. Let's say you're loaded, you have rounds in the magazine, and let's say for some reason you shot the first round and then the slide doesn't lock back for whatever reason, because that happens in any automatic handgun. Every once in a blue moon, the slide will just lock back on its own because of the ammunition. For some reason, something with the ammunition, it just didn't, cycle properly, and the slide locked back even though you have a full magazine. If this is, let's say this is a 10 round magazine, you might have shot the first round and then the slide locked back. You got 9 more rounds in here. If you're being attacked and you fire the first shot and you miss, and then your slide locked back with this pistol, now you're stuck trying to figure out how to shoot this thing. By the time you release this slide, pull it back and release the slide, the bad guy's already on you. The person's already on you. You guys are in a fist fight now. You guys are fighting for the gun. So to me, even though this gun was very small and it looks very cute and pretty, as women like to say, oh, it's so cute and this and that, not being able to release the slide on command whenever you want to me is a big safety hazard, and I did not feel comfortable with my wife carrying this pistol for self-defense. Mind you, I will much rather her have this than to not have nothing at all. But if a situation gets escalated to the point where you need to pull out a firearm, and then like I said, you shoot that first round and your slide locks back for some reason, for whatever reason, you might have limp wrist it, because that's another thing too. If you don't hold the gun firmly and you shoot the gun, you limp wrist it, the slide is gonna lock back because you didn't hold the frame back. The frame went back with the slide, so there's not enough momentum for the slide to go back in the battery because you're not holding the gun properly. You're limp wristing it. The gun shoots and your wrist just flies back. When that happens, a limp wrist, the slide locks back, and it can happen on any one of these pistols, on any automatic, semi-automatic pistol. If you limp wrist it, there's a chance that the slide is gonna lock back. Let's say, for example, you're being under attack, you're in a stressful situation, you pull your gun out, you shoot it, you don't have a good grip on it because, pull your gun out, this person's on you, don't have time to have a good grip or whatever, and you limp wrist it. And let's say you limp wrist it, you fire the first shot, and let's say you hit the person, but it didn't do anything to them, they're still coming at you, so you gotta hit them with a couple more rounds. You slide lock back, and you're trying to release the slide. You're sitting there fighting. Like, I literally cannot push this slide. I cannot release this slide. Like, I can absolutely not release this slide pushing this button. Just pushing the side release button, it's not happening. I've tried many ways, many times to try to release this slide with the slide button. It's not happening. The only way I can release this slide is I have to pull back on the slide and then push down the side release button, and then it goes. That's the only way. And if you're under a stressful situation and you shoot that gun, it doesn't lock back, and let's say you can't get a good grip on it because it's so small, the slide is so small, it's not a lot to grab, and let's say you try to grab it and you can't pull it, you're in an awkward position where you can't pull the slide back, now you just have a gun that doesn't work. To me, this is more of a safety hazard than it is a self-defense tool or weapon or whatever you want to call it. This is more of a safety hazard, because if you pull a gun out of somebody and you shoot and you miss and then slide lock back and you can't get the slide back in a battery to shoot more rounds, then you just escalated something with deadly force, and now you don't have that weapon anymore to defend yourself. Now you gotta rely on your hands. I said all that to say this. Just because a weapon might be small, a firearm might be small and it might look cute, and you might think like,
oh my god, like this is so cute and it's so, it's so pretty and it's so small and it can fit in my purse and it can fit in my pocket if I get a pocket holster and it looks so cute.
These are the things that you have to think about. So when you go to a gun store, you need to mess with the controls. You need to mess with the safety. You need to mess with the safety mechanism if you have a safety on it. Okay, can I easily with one hand release and engage the safety? And if you can't, and I'm gonna try to do it this way, this safety, it's not that bad, but it is really stiff, and it does take some effort to release and engage the safety on this pistol. So like I said, a woman with nails, I don't have any nails right now, so imagine a woman with nails trying to mess with this safety lever, and I just feel like this is just something that you have to look for. Play with the controls, mess with the controls of a gun while you're in the gun store. I noticed that when we were in the gun store, how stiff the safety mechanism was to engage and disengage, and I noticed how stiff and hard the side release was. But I was thinking, oh, it's brand new, so it's just gonna be stiff. Once you fire it a couple times, it's gonna loosen up and it should be fine. That's what I was thinking, because normally That's how it usually works out. But for some firearms, it doesn't matter how many rounds you put through it. The switches are gonna be stiff. The safety mechanism is gonna be stiff. Side release buttons are gonna be stiff. And this is one of those pistols that no matter how much rounds you put through it, it's stiff and everything is hard to work. Every control is hard to work on this except for the mag release. The mag release is the only control button that actually works with no issues. But other than that, this is a big no-no for me. So this is one thing you have to look for. Can you manipulate the safety buttons? Can you manipulate the slide release button, the magazine release buttons, the takedown button? Can you use all this stuff on this firearm flawlessly and effortlessly? If you have issues messing around with the safety, engaging and disengaging the safety, if that's hard for you, this should be a red flag pistol, a big X, don't do it. So one of the main things you want to look for when you're looking to purchase a firearm, can you operate the safety selector switch? If it has a safety switch, can you easily operate the slide release? If not, then you should move on and look at something else. I know it looks cute, I know it looks all small and you think, oh, this is so cute and this will be perfect for me to carry. No, because it becomes a more safety hazard if you can't control this weapon, if you can't release the slide whenever you want to, if you can't disengage and re-engage the safety, if you can't whenever you want to, if you're having issues with that, then this is a no-no. You move on to the next firearm and you're looking at the next firearm and you get it and you're like, okay, all right, this is nice. It's not that big, it's a little bit thick. You know, she's a little bit on the thick side, but you know, feels good. I'm gonna put the magazine in here. It's loaded, so I'm not gonna rack the slide. So you put the magazine in there. So one thing that you want to look for when you're handling a firearm is, where does your pinky have a place to rest on that firearm? Because if you get a firearm and your pinky has nowhere to rest on it, that's not gonna be a good fit for you, because you're not gonna be able to shoot the gun comfortably. Imagine shooting a gun and your pinky is like this. You know what I'm saying? You're shooting a gun and you know your pinky's hanging off the bottom like this, and you're gonna have movements. Your pinky not being able to be wrapped around the frame, that's gonna help. That's gonna mess dramatically with your accuracy, because your pinky is not gonna have a place to sit, and it's gonna constantly be moving. So every time you shoot this gun, your pinky is not gonna be in the same spot, and every time you pull that trigger, your pinky is gonna be moving. So when you're pulling this trigger, your pinky's gonna be inadvertently moving and your gun's gonna be moving, and any little movement of your pistol is gonna throw your shots off anywhere from 3 to 6 inches off, because of this little pinky movement right here. Look at this. Look when I move my pinky. Look how much the gun actually moves when I move my pinky. So you wanna make sure that your pinky finger is able to rest on the frame, that it sits on the frame. So when I take this magazine out, even with the magazine out, my pinky is like, it barely has a little bit of real estate to sit on. A couple of shots and my pinky's gonna be down here like this. You see that? If I shoot this a couple times, my pinky's gonna slide right off of there and end up right here. These magazines have a pretty thick, you know, base plate on it, and that's where my pinky usually sits, on a base plate. So as long as you have a magazine that's gonna fill that gap and have somewhere for your pinky to rest, then that's good. But if you get a firearm and the magazine is in there and your pinky is half off of it, then this will be a no-no, because you're not going to be able to get a good grip. You're not going to have a good purchase on this weapon. Every time you grab this weapon, you're going to be less accurate, because your pinky is going to be moving the whole time. You're going to be constantly readjusting your pinky. So you want to make sure that all your fingers have somewhere in their frame to sit comfortably when you purchase a firearm. When the magazine is in, this is perfect. It feels pretty nice, but it's a little bit on the heavy side. This was one of my first carry guns back in the days. I had this back in, I think like 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. You know what I'm saying, is when I purchased this. At the time, this was perfect for me because I wanted a bigger caliber. Back then, I didn't believe in 9mm and 40 cal. I was a little iffy about 40 cal. I wanted a caliber that I know for sure would stop somebody with the first and definite second round. So I wanted to go with the big boys, the 45. After I got this gun and I shot it a couple times, I'm fairly accurate with this. I'm not as accurate with the 45 as I am with the 9mm and the 40 cals. That's one thing that I've noticed, is that the 45, although it's a bigger round and it's a little bit more stopping power, it's a little bit more hard. It's a little bit more to control the recoil. this little thing kicks like a son of a gun. Like, you know what I'm saying? This 45, man, she kicks like a son of a gun. Like I said, I can shoot it, but after I shoot about 3 or 4 rounds of 45 ACP, man, my wrist is done. My wrist is hurting. I'm like, man, that's a little workout. So that's another thing you got to look at. Caliber. Do you need a 45 caliber for self-defense? I mean, it's good to have. It's really good to have. It's a bigger round. It's just better stopping power and stuff like that. And so you would think it would be a better round, but when you actually shoot this little bad boy, it kicks like a son of a gun, you know. And it doesn't help that the frame is polymer, so it's super light, and then you have a metal titanium slide that's, you know, a little bit weight, because this is empty, and it's like way heavier than this one right here, you know what I'm saying? So that's what you have to look for. This pistol is super top heavy. I don't know if you can see, like it is just top heavy, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to keep it up, and that's just heavy. I'm squeezing the frame, and it's just top heavy. And how you can tell if a pistol is top heavy, you just literally just grab it and you just try to hold it like that with your 2 fingers, with your index finger and your thumb, and you just hold that. And you see how I can hold that up on there and it's not falling anywhere? The same thing with this pistol. Even with the magazine inside of it, I can hold this up. So that lets you know if a pistol is top heavy just by doing that little trick. And I'm not even squeezing that hard, as you can see. Like, I'm not squeezing that hard. But this one, if I try to hold this the same way, like, I'm literally squeezing. Like, I literally have to squeeze this thing and like hold it up there, like, to make sure that it doesn't fall. And it's slowly gonna fall because it's just top heavy. Like, I'm you know what I'm saying? So if you have to fight to keep this pistol up like this, man, I'm reaching muscle failure in my hands. If you gotta fight to keep this up, this pistol is top heavy, and that's something that you want to look for, and that's something you want to avoid. So you want to avoid a bigger caliber, top heavy pistol. This will not be good for self-defense and home defense. Even though it's a bigger caliber, you might think, well, it's a bigger caliber, it has more stopping power, bigger is better caliber wise, but it's really not, because at the end of the day, I'm less accurate shooting this pistol just because how it's built. It doesn't have the greatest grip angle on there. It's not like, you know, when I'm holding this pistol and I'm shooting, it just doesn't have the same. It's not bad. The grip on a natural aim point of aim is not that bad for me, but it's not the greatest. It doesn't feel that good in my hand. It feels like there's something missing. It just doesn't feel that good in my hand, because I already know what feels good in my hands. I already know, and I already have that experience. But I know as a new shooter, you might think it feels good in your hands, but like I said, the fact that it's a 45 caliber, it's a bigger caliber, it's a polymer frame, it's really compact. It's not going to be the greatest pistol to have. The fact that polymer frame, heavy 45 bullet, top heavy with a titanium slide, it's going to take more work for you to control this pistol. Trying to control the recoil, it's going to be more work, and you're not going to be as accurate firing this pistol right here. So I wouldn't recommend, if you're a new shooter, I wouldn't recommend you getting a 45. Not for your first pistol, not for your first gun, not for your first home defense, not for your first self-defense pistol. I wouldn't recommend a 45 caliber. It's just going to be a lot of work, and you're going to feel every bit of that recoil. You're going to feel every bit of that 45 recoil. You're going to feel it in your hand right here. My wrist is this is probably the reason why my wrist is all sore and I have wrist pains from trying to fire this thing for so many years. I don't recommend this. Try to get you, for what I recommend for self-defense and home defense, is 9mm is the smallest caliber that I recommend to anybody, and 40 cal will be the next bigger one that I recommend, because I feel a 40 cal in between the 9mm and right under the 45. So I feel like the 40 cal, if this is the 45 and this is 9mm, I feel like the 40 cal is just right in the middle. It's not that snappy. Well, it depends on the type of pistol you have. It depends on the brand pistol. For Glocks, I don't think they're as snappy as a lot of other pistols that I shot 40 cal. So I like the 40 cals and Glock type pistols and Glocks. I recommend for home defense, nothing smaller than the 9mm and nothing bigger than a 40 cal. So the 9mm and 40 cal are the two that I recommend for personal and self-defense, because they're a lot more forgiving when it comes to recoil. When you're shooting this thing, you can shoot a lot more with them. You can train a lot more because they're not so expensive, and it's not so much wear and tear of constant abuse of kicking in your wrist and hitting your bones. It's just easier and more forgiving on the body. It's just a lot easier and forgiving on the pockets also. So I recommend that if you're looking for a pistol for self-defense and home defense, that you get you a 9mm or a 40 cal. I recommend that if you're gonna go with a pistol for self-defense, home defense, like I said, I recommend 9mm or 40 cal. That would definitely narrow it down. You don't want a pistol that's too small, but you also don't want a pistol that's too big. You don't want a full-size pistol because it's gonna be too big, it's gonna be too bulky, it's gonna be too heavy for you to carry. So you want a nice compact, subcompact pistol, such as Glock 43X or the Glock 43s in general. The 43X just gives you the optic up top. The regular Glock 43 is the same exact pistol, just without the optic mount options. When it comes to recommendations of a pistol, the two pistols that I recommend that anybody look at for the first time is the Glock 43s, Glock 43Xs, or the Glock 19 type pistols. And if you like 40 cals, then you're gonna look at the Glock 23, and I forgot what the other Glock 40 cal pistol is right off the top of my head, but look that up. But I recommend the Glock 19 for 9mm, or the Glock 43, 43X for 9mm, and I recommend the Glock 23 if you want to go with the 40 cals. Do your research. We're not gonna go into detail, but anyways, when you look at the Glock 43X, which is what I recommend for most new shooters, especially people that have like my size hands or smaller, females, I recommend that you look at the Glock 43X because it just feels natural. When you hold this gun compared to all the other guns that I have on here, when you hold the Glock 43X, it just feels so much more like it just feels like it's supposed to be in my hand. And that's how a pistol is supposed to feel like when you go to the gun store for the first time and you hold a weapon, and it just feels like it just feels like it's supposed to be there. Then that's a gun that you definitely need to put that one to the side. I'm gonna look at some more and come back to. And the 43X is definitely one that I recommend that you try. This is one that I always recommend new shooters, people that's looking to buy a firearm for the first time. Like I said, they have similar size or smaller hands than me. I always recommend the Glock 43X as the first one because, like I said, it just feels perfect in hand. Everything, that's the way how it feels. As you can see, it doesn't have the magazine in it. Safety check, doesn't have the magazine on it. Even with the magwell, my pinky finger sits perfectly on the frame, and that's what you want. When I hold this gun, I feel like I have a nice high grip, and it just feels perfect to the natural shape of your hand. The way how the human hand is shaped, this grip just feels perfect for it. It just feels perfect. Like, I really can't explain it. If you can, like I said, if you ever go to the gun store, I want you to try other pistols, other company pistols, and then I want you to hold the Glock 43X or the Glock 43 in your hand, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about, how it just feels natural. It just feels like it's supposed to be there. It felt like Glock took my hand, took a mold of it, and built this frame around the molding of my hand because it just feels perfect. But I have a but in there. There's always a but in there. This feels super good. This is perfect for conceal. The concealability of this is awesome. It's super thin. It's about as thin as the Ruger EC9S. It's about the same thickness. I'm pretty sure they're about the same, and it could be even slimmer. It could be even a little bit slimmer than the Ruger, and that's what I like about it. For my wife loved this pistol. This is her pistol. It's a little bit bigger when it comes to the length. The Glock 43 is a little bit taller than the Ruger EC9, and mind you, the Glock has a magwell on it, so it's gonna be a little bit more taller, but as you can see, it's a little bit bigger in height. It's almost the same thickness, and it's a little bit longer than the Ruger. So if you like this pistol, if you like the Ruger because it's nice and slim and it's small or whatever, then like I said, check out the Glock 43X. Unless you have super duper small hands, then it should feel like it was made specifically for your hand. Also, what I also want to let women know is, let's say you get this pistol and let's say it feels you have small hands and your pinky is just, let's say your pinky is a little bit higher, like up here, and you have all this room. Don't worry about that. Don't think that, oh, it's too big because look, I can fit a whole nother finger on here. Don't think that it's too big because of that. When you're shooting guns and you're shooting these pistols, when you take these pistols to the range, you're gonna be absolutely glad that you have that extra real estate down here for your pinky. So if you say you shoot this pistol, I'm trying to get my pinky, let's say, and you have you have room for another finger, you're gonna want that extra real estate when you're shooting this gun. I promise you. Because think about it. Let's say you go to the range and it's dead winter and you just want to get some reps in, you just want to get some recoil control, you just want to get some, and let's say you put on some gloves, some thin gloves or whatever, you're gonna want that extra space. You're gonna want, I mean, when the magazine is in it, you see it doesn't affect it at all, but you're gonna want that extra space. So just because it might seem like it's a little bit longer, that's the difference between the Glock 43, is that it's the small subcompact size, it's a longer frame, so you just have more to grip on when you grip this pistol. It's just a better grip, so you want to look out for that, and that's what you want to look for. For me personally, I prefer the grip and feel of the Glock 19. The Glock 19, I already did a video of this, is thicker than the Glock 43X. It's a lot thicker. It's a little bit bigger than the Glock 43X. But for me, for my hands, the Glock 19 is the perfect fit. It's not too slim, not too thick. It's just right. With the Glock 43X, it feels good. It feels good in hand. It's just a little too slim for me because I'm just used to the bulkier Glock 19, Glock 23s type grips. And for me, it just feels perfect. The Glock 19 grip, this is a Shadow Systems, not a Glock 19, but it's built off of the Glock 19 frame and specs. The Glock 19 specs just feels super perfect for my hands. It's like perfect. Everything just feels perfect when I shoot. When I shoot and when I grip, when I dry fire this gun, everything just feels perfect. The way I manipulate the controls, the way how I can operate the slide release, everything is just perfect. Without even thinking, I can drop the slide release on the Glock 19. I literally don't have to readjust my grip when I'm holding this pistol. When I'm holding this pistol, I'm going to try to do it on this side for the camera so you guys can see. Trying to put it where you guys can see. When I'm holding this pistol, let's say I'm shooting this pistol, and let's say for some reason I limp brisket, let's say for some reason the rounds that I shot, it didn't, the slide didn't close or whatever, and I'm in the middle of the shooting, I don't have to readjust my grip. I don't have to move my hand. I can literally just push my thumb down and I'm back on target. I'm back to shooting. That's because just how everything is built, the thickness, the length of everything is just perfect. All the controls are perfect for my hand. And like I said, I can manipulate this with one hand without even thinking. I don't have to look. I don't have to adjust my grip. Look at how I'm gripping the gun. I don't have to adjust my grip. I literally just lift my thumb up. That's one of the main things you want to look for. Can you manipulate the switches without readjusting your grip? So yes, sometimes you're going to have to adjust your grip a little bit just when you're reloading. You're going to have to adjust your grip just a little bit, but you don't want to have to adjust your grip so much that when you're back onto it, you're messing around like that. So for example, if I do a reload, I pull my gun up, I literally don't have to move my grip at all. I just move it just a little bit, just like that. You see that? So this is my natural shooting grip right here. This is my natural shooting grip. And when I'm about to reload, I just do this. I literally just flick my wrist. So my grip doesn't really change. I'm just literally just adjusting my fingers. The grip of the web of my hand doesn't change at all. All I'm doing is adjusting my fingers like that. So when I reload and I go back in, I just put my fingers back in. I'm gonna try to do it for you. I'm gonna try to do it for you guys so you guys can see it. So I grip the pistol. I'm just gonna move my fingers just like that. Press the release button. And then when I reload, I just put my fingers back and I'm back on target. So I just adjust my fingers, push the button, reload, my fingers are back in position, and I'm ready to fire. And that's how I do it. I'm going to try to show you guys. Boom, boom, I'm going to reload. You see, I just adjust my fingers. I drop the magazine. I put a new magazine in there. So whenever I close the whenever I put the magazine in the gun, like, so you see my fingers just move. So you see, like, you can't see it, but there's space in my fingers. My fingers isn't touching the gun right here. My fingers isn't touching the frame. As you can see, I can slide my fingers in there. So that's how I adjust my fingers when I'm reloading, but everything else stays the same. So when I go back to shooting, nothing can fit in between here. But when I'm reloading, I just move my fingers up like that, and you see now I can stick my finger in there. You see that? Stick my finger in there. When I'm shooting, I put my fingers back, nothing can go in there. When I'm reloading, I move my fingers. And that's it. That's the only movement I make. That's it. Shooting, reloading. Shooting, reloading. And that's all I move. You want to be able to move when you have to reload and manipulate anything with your gun. You want to be able to make as little movements to your grip as possible. That's what you want to look for when you're choosing a weapon, is can you manipulate the weapon and you don't have to readjust your grip. If you have to readjust your grip every time you do anything, whether it's releasing the slide, the same thing with my wife's pistol. I don't have to move my grip. I got that grip on there. Let's say I'm shooting, boom, 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 the slide locks back, but I have more rounds in there. I can literally just drop the slide release and now I'm back on target. Same thing when I'm reloading my wife's pistol. I just literally do the same thing with my fingers. I just basically move my fingers a little bit just so I can have better leverage to push for my thumb to push down. And then as soon as I put it back in there, my fingers are back on target. To release,
Back on target. Release. Back on target.
the web of your hand and the dovetail should never be separating when you're manipulating the mag release or the slide release. You should always have contact with the web of your hand and the dovetail of the pistol, even if you're doing a reload. That's one of the main things you want to look for when you're feeling a pistol, when you're handling a pistol in the gun store and you're trying to choose a pistol. Make sure that you can press the mag release, make sure you can hit the slide release buttons, and don't have to readjust your grip. So if your grip is different, that means your trigger pull, your trigger squeeze is going to be different. So you have to make sure you maintain the same exact grip every single time you grab your pistols, which led back to one of my very first videos when I was talking about gripping your pistol and having a good high purchase on your pistol. You want to make sure that every time you grab your pistol, you have that good grip, you have that good purchase, you have that good high grip. Every time you grab your pistol, your grips will be the exact same. Every time I grab my pistol, my grip is the exact same. The exact same. No matter if I get it from a holster, whether I pick it up from the table, I get that exact same grip every single time. That's gonna only happen if you have a pistol that fits your hand. Know what you're looking for when you're buying a pistol. This is a perfect example. So I have a high grip, the highest grip I can with this pistol, and then when I want to drop the magazine, it's so small that I can't hit the mag release button with my thumb. My pinky finger is going to be holding it and I have to move my pinky finger out the way. And so in order for me to hit that mag release button, I have to disengage. The web of my hand is off the gun, and this is why I have to put the gun, this is why I literally have to push the gun to reload this pistol. This is my firing grip. Now I can't release the magazine from this grip, from the good grip that I have. So in order for me to release the magazine, I literally have to move the gun. Look at that. Look at where the web on my hand is, and look at where the beaver tail is on this pistol. Look at that. It's not connected. So if you have to lose that grip, if the web of your hand and the beaver cut of this pistol have to disengage, then that's not a good pistol, because now when I reload and I put this back in, now I have to try to establish that grip, and it's probably not going to be the same grip that I had before, which means my trigger squeeze, my trigger pull is going to be off, my sight's going to be off, aiming is going to be off, everything is going to be off because I disengage the grip from the web of my hand to the beaver tail. So like I said, that's something you want to avoid. If you have to take the web of your hand off the beaver tail of this gun to release the magazine, like I have to in this pistol, look at that. Look at this. Just to release the magazine, this is definitely not a good fit for my hand, and it's not going to be a good fit for your hand. Oh shit, it's the wrong one. This one, I don't have to disengage my grip. It doesn't disengage my grip, but no matter how many times I shoot this thing, this magazine, the 45 bullets it just doesn't come out. So this is one thing that I look for when I'm looking for a gun. If I drop the magazine, and mind you, this is full. This have all, how many rounds is this? This have all 10 rounds in here. This is 10 rounds of 45 ACP. And look at this. Oh, it dropped right there for the first time. See that? This is usually what I get. And I have to yank it out. This is something that I look for. If my magazines don't drop freely, I don't like that. It did it there for some reason. It did it there. Look at that. See, it's stuck. You know what I'm saying? This is something that annoys me. It's not a big deal. It shouldn't be a big deal, but for me it is. This is just a pet peeve. If I'm reloading and the magazine don't drop out on its own, because if I'm doing speed reloads, let's say I'm doing a speed reload, I'm dropping this magazine. Now I got another magazine in my hand. When I do speed reloads, I'm dropping this magazine, and now I got a magazine in my hand. So now check this out. I got another magazine in my hand, and this magazine doesn't want to drop. So now I have to lose my grip and try to yank this magazine out, drop that magazine and put it in, and I'm wasting time. This is not the perfect gun, and I understand not everybody is going to have a gun to try to do speed reloads. Not everybody's going to try to be fast and this and that. I get that, but for me, that's one thing I look for. If the magazine doesn't drop out of the gun by itself, to me that's a big no-no, because if you're in an emergency situation, and let's say, like I said, you shot all these magazines, you shot all 10 rounds, you're empty, you're trying to do a reload because this person is shooting at you, and now you're sitting here fumbling with magazines, trying to get one out the way and trying to get another one in, and to me, that's just overall bad. So this is out of the question. And also, you don't want to use a 45 ACP for self-defense and home defense. I'm not saying that it's impossible. If you want to, you can, but it's not the best one, especially with this specific pistol. It's a light frame and it's top heavy. It's a lot of recoil. It's a lot harder to control recoil, so I don't recommend 45 calibers. The magazine doesn't drop out on its own, so that's a no-no for me. The Glock 43, look at that. You see that? This is why I like the Glocks. Look at that every single time. Every single time, like clockwork, I know that these magazines are going to drop regardless. But like I said, the Glock 43, if you have smaller hands, if you have some hands my size or smaller, and you're looking for something to conceal and home defense, the Glock 43 is one that I definitely recommend, especially if you have smaller hands, especially if you're a female. The Glock 43, Glock 43X, this is my top pick for new shooters. It just feels natural. Everything functions like it's supposed to. So the Glock 43 is what I recommend for home defense and concealed carry to any new shooter. If you have bigger hands, if you're just used to having that thick, beefy girth of a pistol in your hand like I do, I think this is perfect for it. Everything is just perfect. It's just a perfect size. The controls and everything is just always perfect. I never have to worry about the magazine not coming out whenever I hit the magazine release button. You can see right there, it just comes out naturally, and that's something that I look for. I can control, I can manipulate the controls. I can drop the side release even from this position. I can drop the side release even if I'm in a shooting position, and let's say for some reason the slide just doesn't close for whatever reason, but I still got rounds, I'm shooting, the slide doesn't, I don't have to lose my grip, I don't have to move my grip, I don't have to do anything. I literally just hit the slide release button with my thumb and I don't lose my grip, and those are things that I look for. So those are the things that you want to look for when you're looking to buy a pistol. Can you operate the slide release? Can you operate the mag release without losing your grip? Can you reload without losing your grip? Can you close the slide without losing your grip? Can you lock the slide back without losing your grip? You know, those are all the things that you want to look for in a pistol. Does all your fingers have somewhere to sit on that pistol even when it's empty? That's something that I look for. I just want my hands to be comfortable, and which means the frame has to be long enough to accommodate all my fingers. Is the frame long enough where all your fingers have a place to sit on the frame? That's something that you definitely want to look for. Remember, the higher your grip is on a pistol, the easier it's going to be for you to control that recoil. The more accurate you're going to be. The line of sight is just going to be perfect. So those are the things that I look for when I'm looking for a pistol. So hopefully I can help any new shooter out there. If you're new to handguns, if you haven't purchased a gun yet and you're looking to buy your first firearms, these are the important things that you got to think about. I'm not even talking about rails and optics yet. That's a whole nother video. I did a whole other video dedicated to accessories, optics, lights, and rails, and things you want to think about in the future when you buy a pistol. But this is just for the straight up beginner shooter who wants to get the first pistol, who don't care about having flashlights and who don't care about having optics on their pistols right now. I really think that you will in the future, so you might as well get a pistol that's equipped to have all that stuff right now. But if you don't, these are the simple and basic things that you should be looking for when you're buying your first pistol. I hope this was informative. I hope this helps somebody out there. I hope you got at least something from this to make it a little bit easier for you to purchase your first firearm. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell so you guys get notified every time we drop a new bang 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 banger. But until next time, this is your boy Stash Sergeant Sealy. Remember, stay sharp, keep your head in a swivel, and be greater than you were yesterday. Stash Sergeant Sealy's out.